Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Today we are going to start with the new chapter of physics, which is transfer of thermal energy. In this chapter we will discuss the mechanism through which the heat energy or the thermal energy is transmitted from one object to another object. Let's start with the basic introduction first, and then we will move to the methods of the transfer of thermal energy. So the first point states that the thermal energy is the total kinetic energy of the molecules present in the body. In the previous chapter, which is work energy and power, we had discussed the kinetic energy in detail, and I hope that you all know what is kinetic energy. Kinetic energy is the energy due to motion of an object. Motion of an object. This is the energy due to the motion or movement of an object. If we can take any example of any state of matter, for example, the solid one, the solid states is made up of the tiny particles which vibrate at their fixed position. So this vibration is due to a certain type of energy which is kinetic energy. So they are stating that the thermal energy is the total kinetic energy of the molecules present in the body. So when we will heat this solid molecule, it will gain thermal energy, and that thermal energy will be converted into the kinetic energy of these molecules. So please remember the thermal energy is converted into the kinetic energy of the molecules, due to which the vibration of the molecules increases. The next point is the thermal energy transfers due to the temperature difference. Means definitely for the transfer of the thermal energy we need a motive, or we need a purpose. So the purpose behind the transfer of the energy is the temperature difference. For example, you have two metal cubes, one which has a temperature of 80 degrees, another which has a temperature of 10 degrees. So definitely there is a temperature difference. This one has the higher temperature, and this one has the lower temperature. So the heat energy will start flowing from this cube to this cube until unless the equilibrium is maintained, or the both blocks are at same temperature, or and they have possesses the same thermal energy. So these are the two main points for the introduction of the transfer of thermal energy. So let's begin with the methods of transfer of thermal energy. We have three methods for the transfer of thermal energy. The first one is the conduction, the second one is the convection, and the third one is the radiation. So you can see in this diagram we have a metal pot which is heating on the stove. This stove is releasing the thermal energy in the form of radiation. The water inside the pot is heating up due to the convection, and this rod is getting heated up due to the process of conduction. So you can see that in this single diagram all three methods of the transfer energy are being performed, but we will discuss each and every method in detail. So in this lecture we will discuss the process of conduction in detail. So the first thing is like what is conduction, or the introduction of the conduction, or the definition of the process of conduction. So the definition states that it is a process in which heat is transmitted through the medium of higher temperature. Let me highlight this instead of doing this. The medium of higher temperature, heat is transmitted from the medium of higher temperature to the lower temperature until the both are at same temperature. So the conduction is the process in which the thermal energy, means the heat, is transmitted from a medium of higher temperature to the medium of lower temperature until and unless the both surfaces are at same temperature. So the next point states that this process can only takes place inside the solid substances. So please keep this in your mind that this process of conduction is only possible inside the solids. I can give you an example so you can understand this in a much better way. But we have a metal rod, and I am heating this metal rod from this end. As I am heating this metal rod, the molecules of this portion are getting the thermal energy. So that thermal energy will convert it to the kinetic energy of these molecules, and the molecules will start vibrating vigorously. So this portion possesses more energy because because it is heated up and it has higher temperature, and this portion of the road has low temperature. So what happens? The heat will start conducting from this portion to the this portion until and unless the both surfaces or the both ends are at same temperature. This process continues, and this process only takes place inside the solid substances. We can discuss the detail of this process or detail of this mechanism. It states that when a part of medium obtain thermal energy, it means whenever we heat a metal object, it gains the thermal energy. That thermal energy, when a part of medium obtain thermal energy, the kinetic energy of the molecule increases. I had told you that when we heat up any object, it gains thermal energy, and that thermal energy converted to the kinetic energy of the molecules means the kinetic energy of that solid substance. So the kinetic energy of the molecule increases, and whenever there is increase in kinetic energy of the molecules, there is increase in the motion of the molecules, there is increase in the movement of the molecules. So as the molecules, the solid molecules gain the kinetic energy, they will start vibrating vigorously and collide with the neighboring molecules and pass on the energy. This how the thermal energy is transmitted from the hotter end towards the cooler end. So this is the mechanism or the whole process of the conduction, that how the process of conduction takes place. First of all, the thermal energy is provided, which results in the increase in kinetic energy. And as the kinetic energy of molecules increases, they will vibrate vigorously, they will collide with the neighboring particles, and they will pass on the energy to the next molecules. So this is the mechanism of the conduction. You can see in this diagram, they had explained the process of of the conduction. Sorry, let me erase this. And this is the process of conduction, how it is conducted. You can see that we are using a flame. This flame is heating up the molecules. The molecules are getting thermal energy, which is converting to the kinetic energy. This will become excited, or as they possess more kinetic energy, they will collide with the neighboring particles and will conduct the energy to the next molecules. So the last part of this chapter is the difference between conduction and convection. I know we had already read these two definitions thousand times in our previous classes, but there are certain things which you have to revise for the O levels. The first thing is that what are conductors? Conductors allow efficient heat transfer, while insulators are the poor conductors, do not allow the heat transfer. This is the basic bookish definition of conductors and insulators. The next point states that the metals are good conductors because they have free electron. So this point is very important in terms of MCQs. They usually ask that why the metals are very good conductor. So please remember that metals are good conductor. Why? Because they have free electrons to conduct electricity. Among all the conductors, the metals are the best conductor due to the presence of the free electrons. These free electrons conduct electricity very rapidly and makes the metal the best conductors. There are some examples. The first example states that, for example, the cooking pan, kettles, and iron are made up of copper, steel, and aluminium. Why? Because the metals are good conductor. And this point states that the air is a very good insulator. The air is a very good insulator. uh, there are some examples like where we use air as an insulator for keeping even for example the animals like cats during the winter season. They uh, they fill their fur with the air, and air behaves as an insulator and protect them from the cold. So this how the air behaves as a very good insulator, and it helps to keeps the temperature in of the body warm inside. So this is the introduction and the and I had discussed the first mechanism. Inshallah, in the next videos, I will discuss the rest of the two mechanisms of the transfer of thermal energy, which is conduction and convection. So go through these videos, and if you have any problem, you can ask.